In lesson 0.1, I explained what the print function does. It displays, or you could as well say prints, something to the screen. Like that time, lesson 0.1, here I am displaying something to the screen by placing that something, in this case this is just the number 1, within the parentheses of the print function. Now, I think it's a good time to learn, in a more generic way, what that thing we place within the parentheses is called. This is formally called a value. If we want to use that value somewhere in our program, such as when using the print function to display such value, we don't necessarily have to type the value itself within the parentheses. We instead can mention it by its name, as long as we have given it one. And here is how you do it. So, what have I done here? This is the value that we were using within the print function, and I have given it a name. The name I chose is lucky number. So now, when we use our print function, instead of placing the 1 in here, we can mention it by its name. Let's just run it and see what happens. I go here, and I run Python file. Let's see. The output is 1. This is what is displayed on the screen. I was able to print this value by mentioning it by its name. Officially, formally, what I've been calling names of values are called variable. Lucky number is a variable, and 1 is the value associated with it. So that is the terminology that I will be using from now on. Do you remember when I explained in one of chapter 0 lessons that when using Python's built-in components like a print function, you must respect their orthography? Well, it makes sense, right? That if you use something that already exists, you call it by its name. But when you create something yourself, you are the one naming it. And variables are an example of this. You don't even have to respect the orthography of your natural language. Just remember that you must still abide to some limitations that Python imposes.
Here's a few limitations you must follow.
I am going to create another variable and assign it a value. Well, if we run this code, it will cause an error. That is because one of the limitations in the naming of variables is about only being able to include letters, numbers, and underscores in your variable name. The copyright symbol is not a letter, nor a number, or an underscore. You can run this code by yourself. You go here and click on Write Python file and see for yourself if you get an error message. And here is another way of naming a variable that is illegal. This also will cause issues. You will not be able to run this program. It will not go through. And that's because despite the fact that you can use numbers in your variable name, you cannot use them as the first character of a variable. So this would be fine. And now look at this. Let's do 3. This also is illegal. You're not allowed to use white spaces in a variable name. To mimic them, we use underscores. And that's, in fact, what I've been doing with the other variables. You can always run things on your own to verify what I'm saying. Now that I have told you about the rules of variable naming, I have to tell you about the conventions in variable naming. These about to be revealed conventions are called conventions because ignoring them will not cause error messages. It's not illegal, but it's better to follow them to avoid bugs and readability issues.
Let's look at these conventions.
Let's look back at the last variable we worked with. It was lucky number. Let's do 3 again. As I already said, this is a perfectly legal variable, but it could be better, like this. And this is what one of these conventions is about, making variables shorter and self-explanatory, descriptive. This variable takes less space, which often improves readability. And it is still descriptive because you can still tell that num stands for number. Also, it's highly frowned upon to use the names of Python's built-in components, such as print, from our print function, as the name of a variable.
Like so.
Naming a variable print, which is a word reserved for the print function, by itself will not raise an error message. See, if I run the code, remember, you're not to expect, this is a print, this is just a variable called print. It's not a print function, so you're not expected to see anything here. But if there is something wrong with the variable, you'd see an error message here. But you do not. Still, using such word for a variable will cause you troubles. This is because you'd be overriding the way Python interprets the word print, and you won't be able to use that component, in this case the print function, when in need of it. See, let's place a value in here, and let's run this. Here it's saying line 3, so the issue is with this line, you see the number 3 here. And the issue is, and this is the line, print 10. And you see a message here, you messed things up. You lost this component now. Of course, you can still, remove this. It's not forever, as long as it's not in your the code. And now you see this is just the previous messages. Don't get confused. And this is the new one. You can clear this out if you like it clean by just typing clear, enter, and you can run it again. And now you just see the 10. And this is just information about where this program is stored. That's the address. There is no reason to use reserved words in variable names. Look at this. Here, because I really wanted to use the word print, I did use it for my variable. This is okay to do, as long as the reserved words are not there by themselves, like so. Print number is not a reserved word. It's a word of its own. There is one last convention. It is suggested that you write variable names in lowercase. The uppercasing is reserved for a special kind of variable discussed in lesson 1.8. Not following this last suggestion might result in bugs. All about this will be explained in lesson 1.8.
Now, one last thing about variables and values.
I have to warn you about a common misconception. Beginners often think, or are told to think, of variables as boxes containing values. This way of thinking might be hazardous. You might suffer unexpected behavior out of your programs due to this weak conceptualization. An healthier way to think about variables is as labels or names that you place on values.
This is what happens
when you mention a variable in a print function. Python checks on what value that label has been placed, then retrieves that value for you. Right now, I cannot give you examples of unexpected behaviors. That's because there is other concepts that I'd first want you to learn. Only then it'll make more sense to you. At the right time, before the end of this course, you'll know. For now, I suggest that you start thinking about it the correct, healthier way.
Or bugs might claim your home as their breeding ground.